What is up, YouTube? HPJ here, and I'm coming at you guys today because it's time for Sky Striker. Yes, the Sky Striker Aces are making their return in February. No, there isn't no new support, and we haven't had any since I believe the last couple of things in the TCG. But Sky Striker themselves have been doing exceptionally well. If you've seen some of the deck lists and events that have gone on, I believe there was a Sky Striker deck a few months ago that topped at an event. So, congrats to them. But we're here for HPJ's variant of Sky Striker, which I'm very happy to show off to you guys. So why don't we go ahead and we get started. For the Monstars, I have 3 copies of Sky Striker Ace Ray and 1 copy of Sky Striker Ace Rose. So that's it for the Sky Strikers. Literally, that's it for the monsters. Everything else is spell and traps. So, for the spells, 3 copies of Mobilize Engage, 3 copies of Widow Anchor, and 3 copies of Linkage. Then 2 copies of Shark Cannon, 1 Hornet Drone, 1 Afterburner, 1 Area Zero, and 1 multi-roll. That is it for all the Sky Striker spells. And then for all the regular cells, 3 copies of Us Our Goblin, 3 copies of Cosmic Cyclone, 2 copies of Triple Tactics Talent, 2 copies of Lightning Storm, 2 copies of Regeki, 1 Harpie's Feather Duster, 1 Reinforcement of the Army, and 1 Call by the Grave. So that is it for all of the spells. And then now we're going to go into the traps, where I'm running 3 copies of Dimensional Barrier, and 3 copies of Infinity Impermeance. Alright, that is it for my main deck. That is a total of 40 cards. Then we're going to go into the the extra deck. Let's see, we're going to go into the extra deck with 3 copies of Sky Striker Ace Kigari, 3 copies of Sky Striker Ace Shizuku, 2 copies of Sky Striker Ace Hayate, 1 copy of Kaina, 1 copy of Zeki, 1 copy of Zeke, 1 copy of Winnie the Wind Charmer Verton, 1 copy of Hita the Flame Charmer Blaze, 1 copy of Dirk the Dark Charmer, 1 copy of Celine the Queen of Master Magicians, and 1 copy of Access Code Talker. So that is pretty much it for all of my extra deck and all of my main. Why don't we go ahead now and we go through the overall analysis. So, starting off with my monster lineup, there's only 2 main deck monsters being played. That's the 3 copies of Ray and the 1 copy of Rose. This is very common with Sky Striker decks because Sky Striker Ace, Ray, and Rose are basically the starters. They're able to have interactions with things on the board and be able to play themselves. The thing about it is that if you don't get into Ray, Rose is your other option because she is a Sky Striker. You are able to utilize her for the Link monsters, and she does exceptionally well in setting up boards and getting to Ray if need be. Ray's effect is that it's a quick effect. You can tribute this monster to summon a Sky Striker Ace monster from your extra deck to the extra monster zone, and when she's in the graveyard, while I face a Sky Striker Link monster you control will be destroyed by battle or leave the field because of an opponent's card effect, you're able to summon her from the graveyard. And it's a really great help because then you can quick effect on your opponent's turn, go into someone like Kagari or Kaina or Kina. Yeah, I'm gonna call it Kina. Just because I think her name is supposed to be Kaina, but I like calling her Kina because it makes it easier to pronounce. And then you have just the large array of the extra deck Sky Striker cards that have abilities once they get summoned to the field. Rose, on the other hand, is a Sky Striker who can be special summoned from your hand. If a normal summon or special of a Sky Striker Ace monster. Then on top of that, if your opponent has a monster in the extra monster zone, is destroyed by a spell or trap. Destroyed by battle or leaves the field because of your card effects. While she's in the graveyard, then you special summon her and negate the effects of a face-up monster your opponent controls. See, there's a lot of give back with Ray and Rose. with their abilities and how they're both set up. So then if you lose one, you can always have the other to back up. But most people don't want to run multiple Roses because then it gets way too cloggy. And Rose's ability to such summon herself from the grave does tend to help. It also helps with some negation. Plus, they share the same attack defense level and type. Just to have different attributes. Alright, now we're going to move on from these two lovely ladies, and we're going to go on to the multitude of spell cards that I'm running in the deck. The reason why there's so many spells is because many of them have abilities, especially the Sky Striker cards, that if you have three or more spells in the graveyard, they gain additional effects. And this is where a lot of their additional abilities come out to help the deck itself persevere. Now, Sky Striker Immobilize Engage, after years of being at 1, its ability is to search your deck to add a Sky Striker card from your deck to your hand except for a copy of itself. And when you have 3 or more spells in your grave, you draw 1 card. So it's search and it's draw when there's 3 or more. Widow Anchor is monster negation. And you have the ability to take control of the monster when you have 3 or more in the grave. Then we have Linkage. Now this card's ability says if you have no monsters in your main monster zone, you cannot set some from your extra deck for the rest of the turn, except for Sky Striker monsters, which is perfectly fine because you're going to send one other card you control to the grave, and then be able to summon a Sky Striker Ace monster from your extra deck. And then, at least if you have a Ladder Dark in the graveyard, the monster gains 1,000 attack. So it's basically just a way to put more monster onto the board and then have it be a heavy body, while also any additional abilities that could potentially go on. Love the fact that they have this arsenal of 3s because it just helps you push and persevere more things onto the board. You have negation, you have draw power and search, and you have special summon with an additional buff if need be. So that is it for the 3s. For the 2s, which there's only one setup, is the Shark Cannon, which helps out bring banishing monsters from your opponent's graveyard when they're trying to, interact with their grave, and then also taking that monster for your link climb if need be. The Hornet Drones, which is the only Sky Striker card I can think of at this point in time that is still at 1, because multiple decks could abuse the token, which is still considered a Sky Striker card, and be able to go into the extra deck for the monsters, utilizing multiples of Kagari and Engage's ability. So it makes sense that why this card, and trust, because it's a Sky Striker monster as it is, it's just additional things that will continue to happen and continue to set up the plays that are need to be. So it's a lot of engines that definitely benefit from the Sky Striker engine, even if it's small. The 1 copy of Afterburner, just for a shot-to-shot removal. The Area 0, the field spell. Most people don't run multiples of the field spell anymore because all the majority of the pieces now that you need are at 3. Unless you're playing Duel Links, but then again, they're only running 2. And it's simply just because of, it helps you excavate to get the cards, but the majority of the time, you want to blow this up with another card effect, or you just want it on the field to help you in later game. To remove cards that can end up being dead draws, or just dead spells at that. Then we have Multi-Roll, which helps you send cards to the graveyard to protect your spells from being targeted by your opponent's effects for the turn. And then at the end of the turn, for every number of spells you've played, you can get those back onto the board and randomly set them, but they're banished when they leave the field, which is perfectly fine because I think Sky Striker has gotten to the point where they're okay with their spells getting bye-bye, and as long as you get to use them again. But I don't run any of the cards that use them again because there's still tendencies of issues that have not been resolved with some Sky Striker setups, but it's still ultimately a great way to protect your cards from being targeted by your opponent's card effects or destroyed by your opponent's card effects, and it helps out with that bit of protection. The Outside Goblins for the draw power, the Cosmic Cyclones for removal of spells and traps by banishing them and not sending them to the grave. The Triple Tactics talent, because there are opponents who do play monsters on your turn, such as Ash Blossom, Joy Springs, Effect Veiler, and Joel Lockbird. So you get the benefits of, doing one of these abilities where you can take a look at your opponent's hand and send a card away. You can take control of your opponent's monster, or you draw 2 off of it. Lightning Storm for either removal of spells and traps or monsters. Raigeki for the removal of monsters only, while Duster comes in to remove nothing but spells. Rhoda to either get Ray or Rose, and then Call by the Grave to deal with hand traps in the graveyard. Now we're going to go into the traps, and some people are going to start asking me questions. I'm running 2 sets of trap cards. That's right, personal preference. And my personal preference is D-Barrier or Infinity Impermanence. Now, why are these 2 particular cards here? They're here particularly because they help me they'll help deal with some issues. Because the game has now gotten into the point where we see a lot of Xyz monsters. This is a good card to counter out decks like Raziel. And if you're playing cards like Infinity Impermanence, it's because you're probably not main decking Effect Veiler. And you still want a chance to negate something on your opponent's turn and even shut down some of their spells and traps, which tends to happen. Now, I definitely will have to say I'm very much running both of these at the same time, but you don't have to. It's your preference of how you want to play, and you probably can find some more spells if you want to, just switching out whatever set you want. But both are affordable because they both have been reprinted. So that's it for the trap cards, and then simply going into the extra deck. The 3 copies of Kagari. She is here to retrieve your Shashika spells from the graveyard. She gains 100 attack for every spell in your graveyard. Then Shizuku. You can search your deck for any spell card in your deck with Shashika in its name, as long as it's not a copy of what's in your graveyard. Shizuku's other ability is that she reduces your opponent's attack and defense by 100 for every spell in your graveyard. These 2 definitely counteract themselves, where one is getting cards from the grave on her summon, but the other one has to wait till the end phase of her summon. It's kind of similar to Harpie Perfumer and Harpie Oracle. And Shizuku and Kagari are definitely the breakout stars of their deck. It's also funny enough because the next monster, Shashika Ace Hayate, does come in clutch with her abilities as well. And these 3 tend to be the ones a lot of people just love the most. I've seen a lot of these girls be played out and played through some of their unique abilities. Hayate can attack your opponent directly and then send a card from your deck to the graveyard with Shashika in its name. So then you can switch her out for a Kagari. Kagari can pick up the card, then switch herself out for Shizuku, and then Shizuku can switch out for a card that is in the cards you put in the graveyard. There's just so many different combos there. Kina negates and stops monsters, has a bulk body. Well, actually, no, she just looks bulky. But she gives you life points every time a spell played and resolved, which can be great for, time situations. Zeke helps you remove cards on the board. She comes out, she gets 1,000. And she just makes herself a big swing. For the Charmers that are in this deck, I'm using them to link climb into Selene, because there are still decks in the game that use monsters, hand traps that are either dark, fire, wind. I could put area in here for water because of the Male Charmies, as well as Usa for earth. And then basically use those monsters to help me go into Selene, who then will get me back a monster, and then I can go into Access Code Talker to try to sweep in for a game. There are other link 4 monsters you can use as well, but most likely people do go for the Access Code Talker to finish the game. So that is pretty much it for my Sky Striker deck. Yay! And I hope you guys enjoyed it, because I surely did enjoy making the video for you. So, with that in total, thanks everyone for watching, because I really do appreciate it. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel, as it helps out tremendously. Hit the notification bell so you guys can be informed of when I do upload more content to my channel. Socials are in the description box below. And with that said and done, thanks everyone for watching. HPJ signing out. Take care.